Who has seen the lead gen wheel? It's in the career guide. Okay, believe it or not, like I've known about this stuff and at the same time haven't had a good understanding. So we're gonna break this down. This is also how we can recruit people and how I can show you what the team does for you. Because the question comes up, right? I'm giving up 50% of my commission, what the do I get? I think that's a fair question. Just so you guys understand, when you guys close deals, I get nothing right now. We're building this business up. And so then I have to be convinced that I'm at the right place the same way that you guys have to be convinced, because I no longer make money off of your guys' closings. Fair? Your closings, all they do is go and cover expenses. If there's anything left at the end of the month, which there hasn't been this year, then I would get half of the profits. But we have been too expensive, which is why we're right-sizing everything, as you've noticed, and hiring better, more talented people that cost less money. So at some point I can start getting some profit. This side over here is what we do, right, in-house. So internet leads, listing leads, sign calls, ISA, and other. This side is what you work for. You work your sphere, right? And sphere is, you got to come in here with 200 contacts. And what I learned this weekend is Place's model is you come in with 200 names and a way to contact them. And then your job when you get rolling with your sphere is then to fill everything out. So if I got a name and a phone number, my initial work is through my sphere, people that know, like, and trust me, and then get their email, get their phone number, get their address, get their social media stuff, and connect with them on a deeper level, right? This is where our first set of business is going to come from as a real estate professional. People that know you, like you, and trust you. Unless you're a head, right? Because then they don't like or trust you. And each one of these, as we go through this, is responsible for 4 closings a year. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. 4 times 6 is 24. And that's how you get to become, I believe it's an associate or an agent. And then you're eligible for the healthcare and you're able to participate in the stock purchase program, which is huge. You get the stock that is at 3 years ago value when there was 50 teams at Place. So I think it's like $3.64 a share. That stock is worth about $35 a share now. You get that stock for $3.65 a share, let's call it, at a 20% discount. And then at the end of the year, Place will match what you bought with another 20. So technically speaking, if you bought $10,000 worth of stock, you would receive about $14,000 to $15,000 worth of stock that is worth 10 times that when these guys IPO, anywhere from 6 to 15 times that, right? So my 10 grand immediately turned into 15K, and that 15 will probably sell for somewhere between $100,000 and $300,000. So this is the path to that, right? So you should get 2 closings every 6 months or 4 closings a year from internet leads from the team. You should get 4 closings a year from properly worked listing leads from the team. You should get 4 closings a year from ISA and other. That's all the other ways that we get leads. You should get 4 closings a year from prospecting. Prospecting is picking up the phone, right? It's the shovel. Gold miners prospect. They dig, right? And they look for stuff. They got the pick, they got the shovel. That's just cold calling, circle dialing, expireds, whatever. Open houses. That's 2 a week, 1 during the week, 1 on the weekend. If you do that every week, and this is assuming 50 weeks a year, or we can call it 48, right? You guys take an entire month off. 48 weeks a year, you do 2 open houses, 1 during the week and 1 on the weekend. But it's not just an open house. It is calling around there, which also is prospecting. Hey, I'm having an open house. And then door knocking. Hey, I'm having an open house. You're invited, right? And then holding the open house. And then doing the social media posts. So it's work. All of this stuff looks like work, but this guarantees you if you do all of these things, there's no way in hell. You do all these things for 48 weeks. There's no way in hell you'll sell less than 24 homes in a year. Impossible. More likely you would sell 50 or more. Make sense? And then your sphere. So your sphere, 200 contacts, a name and a way to contact them. And your first business is to complete your sphere. And by completing your sphere, you're going to be getting a ton of business from it. Fair? Team responsibility, your responsibility. So let's start with 1. How does the team help support you with your sphere? How about events? Do we hold events? How much we spend on events a year? About $15,000? Easy, maybe 20. So we spend 20K on events. Think about a baseball game, client appreciation events, happy hour, referral dinner, right? So we support you with events. How about Brivity? A place for you to put all your people that you can put them on auto plans, right? Jenna's got a name and a phone number. She gets their address, puts them on a market report. Now, at the frequency that Jenna chooses, this person that knows, likes, and trusts her gets an email once a week, every 2 weeks, once a month, every other month, right? You have the choices in there about what's happening in their neighborhood and the value of their home. Do you think that person's going to think of Jenna when they're thinking about selling, right? So remember, you have market reports, right? And those forever client auto plans where they're texting, right? And then we have obviously the listing alerts, which if they're interested in anything, like we have blanket hit everyone Jackson County 4 to 600,000 or 4 to 700,000 or 3 to 800,000. I just had the VAs blow up everybody pretty much in our database that had an email that was valid and an address or a zip code. Yeah, so this proprietary technology, Place owns Brivity. Okay, so another big thing, and remember, we're just talking about Sphere, right? We have all of these other things to talk about. So just in Sphere, you're able to adopt our inventory. Jenna's, one of your first closings, you held one of my listings open, one of the team's listings open, you got a client and you close that client. Without the ability to adopt our inventory, I think we have 50 listings on the market right now, right? That create the phone to ring, Google searches, realtor.com leads. Our inventory is your inventory. Okay, if you have no listings, you now have 50 listings. And you have access to market them, you have access to hold them open, to talk about them as if they were yours because they are yours, because we are all partners in this thing. What else do we do to help you with your Sphere? Ever not know what to say to people? Right? We are available for scripts. Now, whether or not you utilize everything that's available, right, is not our problem. But you may or may not take advantage of it. And then if you don't take advantage of everything that we have here to offer, then the value of what we bring is reduced because you're not utilizing it. And remember, when I'm talking to you guys, I'm also talking to myself because there's a ton of stuff available to me as an operator in place that I have not utilized. So the more you plug in and the more you do, the more value we will bring, the more leads you get, the more money you're going to make. Okay, so we provide scripts, role play. Another thing we bring to you, right, is accountability. Like you can't join the team until you've put your 200 in, right? And then we look at the dials. We look at the contacts on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and on a monthly basis. So it's like, hey, are you doing your job, right? Because then the question comes in, let's say you've only closed 4 deals this year and your goal was 24. Then this begs the question, okay, you've closed 4 deals. So which 2 are you actually doing then, right? Because remember, it's 4 deals a year, so it's June, 6 months. That means that each one of these should be responsible for 2 closings so far this year. And then from June to December, the next 6 months, they'll be responsible for another 2. But if all you do is work your Sphere and internet leads, and you've closed 4 deals, you are exactly on track to where you should be based on what you have done, 2, right, of the 6. Does that make sense? Right, so 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Half of the year, I work here and I work here. Congratulations, you're on track to close 8 deals this year. Because you do 1/3 of your job. And then if I do this one and this one, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 8, 16. Congratulations, you're on track to close 16 deals this year. Because now you're doing 2/3 of it. And if you do all of them, congratulations, you're on track to do 24 or more deals, right? This is the conversation we can have with anyone wanting to get into real estate, right? Because the reality is, if you're not on a team, all of this stuff has to happen. Now, you may have a lot of success here because all of these things feed back into Sphere, which is why we so heavily support the Sphere, right? Because when I get an ISA lead and I close them, they go into our client retention system. They are now a MET. They are now someone that knows, likes, and trusts you. And they get invited to the events. They're put into Brivity where we do our lead management and they get their market reports. We put them on forever auto plans. Boom, call him, set the appointment, then he no-shows me. All right, let's get into open houses. If this is something that you do, you're doing 2 a week, every week. And we have the inventory for it. It is 1 during the week and 1 on the weekend. It can be a 30-minute open house for all I care. So open house, circle dialing, and then we knock. Hey, my name's Autumn. Reason I'm at your door is we're holding this house open. Would love for you to come by. By the way, who do you know that might want to move to the neighborhood? Right? Now's a great time to choose your neighbor. Now we know what to say, right? And then you hold the open, and then you do a social media post. And during the open, Brivity has the open housing where they can scan it and they can input their information, right? And then we have a follow-up tool. Brivity also can make us flyers. And then as we're closing up, wouldn't be a bad idea to knock a few more doors. Do we have a little bit better understanding about open houses? Okay, how about prospecting? Remember, this is adopting our inventory. So a lot of this stuff applies everywhere. Do we have a legit reason, probably 50 legit reasons, to call neighborhoods? Prospecting. Hey, my name's Autumn. Reason for my call is we got a home for sale in your neighborhood, and I promised the seller I'd call the 100 closest neighbors. Have you seen my sign on 328 Brookhaven? You. Click, right? Hey, my name's Amy. The reason for my call is I've got a home for sale in your neighborhood, and I promised the seller I'd talk to all the neighbors to see if they know anyone wants to move to the area. Okay, internet leads. Do we produce internet leads for you? Realtor.com is a big one. Those are great leads. Google, Facebook, which is pretty much in Facebook, entangles Instagram. And then I get leads from TikTok. I get leads from LinkedIn. I get leads from YouTube. And I don't have time to work any of those, right? Because I built my sphere so big that it just feeds me and it feeds the team. Is that fair to say? Like most of you guys, if you're around town talking to someone, most of them know who I am because of years and years and years and years, since 2011, so 12 years, I've been doing this at a relatively high level. So keep this in mind. You need to do this entire lead gen wheel for the first few years of your business to really get that momentum. But all of these things are feeding into this one and they're feeding into this one. So you don't have to do it forever. So we do the work for a few years, right? You like Dave Ramsey would say, live like no one you know lives today, right? Live on rice and beans, drive a shitty car, whatever, have cheap rent. So you can afford to live like they never will be able to later. So if you work like no other real estate agents are willing to work for a few years, then you'll be able to have a successful business like they will never be able to have. But it starts with the work, right? You can properly work about 20 to 30 leads a month, right? You get more than a lead a day, you're screwed. So some of the leads are trash, but the majority of them are not. When we call through these leads, and I do, a lot of them have bought or sold recently that were marked as hot, had follow-up that was never followed up with. These people are real. Now, whether or not the timing is correct is a big one. That's why you need to call them between 8 and 12 times before you have any success whatsoever. That is a Harvard study that did that, right? And they need to come in contact with your brand 5 times before they even know who you are, which is why we have hats, shirts, wrap trucks, signs all over the place, Facebook and Google ads, and Realtor.com ads, right? Because we need people to become familiar with our brand before they ever decide to do business with us or remember that we even exist. Is that fair? Listing leads. We get a ton of listing leads, right? Those are sign calls. That rolls through CallRail. So when people call you guys all tried calling the bat phone recently. It says, welcome to the Rutledge Property Group. If you're interested in buying a home, press 1. If you're interested in selling a home, press 2. If you have a question about a current listing we have, press 3. If you want to talk to Adam, press 4. There's like a phone tree. So now we're qualifying our listing leads, people that are calling on our sign to get them where they need to go faster. And then it rings to everybody. The first one to pick up gets it. And then ISA another. So the ISA thing is Ojo Plus. And remember, I'm paying another $2,000 a month for Ojo Plus, but instead of having a 40% referral fee or 35%, it's 17.5, right? So I'm paying every month regardless of whether or not we close. And then you guys pay the 17.5. And we'll work out the details as soon as that gets a little bit closer. But right now that's an appointment lead, right? So it's 15% less than normal. And that just goes straight to Ojo. We don't make any more money on that. The idea is we're guaranteed 30 to 35 leads a month through Ojo. And the expectation is we close 2 to 4 more closings a month from those particular leads. Fair? So that's ISA and other. Right? So the more available, the more here you are, the more of the work that you're doing that we expect, right? Contacts, appointments, pendings, and database additions. That's the Cap D over there on the right. And you know on a weekly basis how you're doing. So for us, average is 20 to 35, and the definition of average is strives not to fail. So those who are striving not to fail and above in their activities get team leads. And the ones that are doing good, great, and extraordinary get my leads. A lot of times I'll ask Kat or Autumn or whoever's looking at numbers, hey, I got a lead, who deserves it? They're like, oh, so-and-so's made X amount of calls this week and blah, blah, blah. So they get my leads from my sphere because I'm already too busy. But those that aren't doing the activities, why the hell would I give you a lead, right? You're not calling, you're not doing appointments, you're not showing houses, you're not doing opens. Like you haven't earned the right for that business because you're not making contacts, setting appointments and pending deals. Then what happens is the more you do, right? And then the less you do, the less you do. Interesting, huh? So I'm not making calls. I'm not getting leads from the team or from Adam. And so I'm not going to make calls and I'm going to get less leads. Or I'm just going to buck up and start doing the activities, and then I'll start getting appointments, showing up to team meetings because hopefully we're starting to bring more and more value to them. And then I'm starting to get leads from Adam, which means that I want to make more calls, which means I'm going to do more deals, set more appointments, right? So you either spiral up or you spiral down. And it's 100% our choice. And that's why every week, I don't know, is it Tuesdays? We reset that thing. Did you work last week? Basically is what we're looking for. And did you make any attempt whatsoever at trying to do a deal? If the answer is yes, then you're on the good side. If the answer is no, that's perfectly fine, right? Because we're all 1099s. You're not required to do anything. But also, if you didn't work last week, I'm not going to take we're up to about $15,000 a month I spend in getting us business to those people who haven't been making calls, haven't been setting appointments, and haven't been coming to the office, right? Because there's a direct correlation to that. Like, that's why we have that. If you're not here, you're somewhere else. And for me, if I'm not working, if I'm not making money, I'm spending money. That's why I work all the time, just to prevent me from spending money, right? But if you're not working, you're probably off, and then you're not in front of your computer, so you're not remembering to call that guy back, and they're asking questions about properties, and you can't get it on your phone very well, and you get frustrated, and then you don't want to deal with the business, et cetera, et cetera. So, but when you're here and you're organized and you're in front of your computer, you're just better. Is that fair to say? So that's why we have those requirements. Like everyone I told what our requirements were to get leads, they're like, you need to like 2-3 times that minimum. Your people are still not doing anything and they're getting leads. So just keep that in mind. I'm not changing it right now, but that's the feedback I got from other teams that have a team size similar to ours. It was laughable what our standards are. So please just meet them. Like 20 calls in a week, 20 conversations about real estate is not difficult. And if it's hard to do, I will do it with you. Like I'm not above anything. Like I will sit down with you and we will start calling people, right? Because then you'll find you start spiraling up. It's a law of entropy, right? Universal law. Object in motion stays in motion. Object at rest tends to stay at rest. It takes a lot of energy to get that stone rolling. But once you do, it's hard to stop. Fair?